Hi there, welcome to another scrapbooking process video. Today I have this stack of photos to scrapbook that are from the month of October, and I do have quite a few photos here, so I'm just going to spread them out on my working surface here so that I can just get a sense of how many stories I have to tell and a bit of an estimate of how many pages I'm going to need to break October into. I really prefer when I do project life week to week and have a whole spread for a whole week, but in this case I have gotten a little bit behind, so I am going to have to catch up. So as you can see, this is much more than what I would need to fill a double page spread. So I'm looking at multiple pages here, and I'm just taking in and those are all the supplies that I'm using. I'll get back to those in a second, but I'm basically taking in all of these stories, and I do have a sense of how many photos of how many stories I want to tell and the length of some of the stories. So what you saw me doing there with my mouse pad was I was just checking the dates on some of these. I'm not too cautious about scrapbooking chronologically within my project life because, all of these are within October, so it doesn't really matter to me in the big picture, but some of these things I do want to be accurate about. So I have divided these into two chunks, and I'm just putting away the second half of the month, and I'm going to be scrapbooking today, mostly early October. So these are my templates that I use, and I also just pulled out a page protector because, of course, the left-hand side of this page will go into the back side of my last page, but I'll need a page protector to hold the right side of this spread. So I'm just spreading out these photos and trying to decide, what stories I'm going to tell and how much space I'm going to need for it. I have two photos here, and they're of a news event, and one of them has the headline that makes it obvious what it's about, and then the other one has the photo that I prefer. I prefer the photo of the president coming out of the helicopter as opposed to the picture of the helicopter itself, because it's just a little bit more engaging and interesting to show a person than an object. So I'm going to put that down at the bottom. It happened at the beginning of the month, but I didn't want it to be in that top left-hand corner because I just didn't want that kind of subject matter to be the first thing you look at when you turn the page. So I put it down in the bottom corner instead. He doesn't show up very much in my project life, so I thought I better, get him in at some point. So we've got, these are the leftover supplies from the September kit. So I use the Ali Edwards Story by the Month kit, and this is what's left from the September kit. So I have one or two pieces of chipboard here, and then I have a couple of cards. And as you can see, what I'm doing there with my mouse is I'm checking the dates of things just because I couldn't remember when I went apple picking, and I needed to make sure. It was actually the end of September, but it doesn't really matter. Looking through the chipboard pieces for the October kit. So now I am looking at the October kit. So those little pieces down on the table in front of me are from November, but then are from September, but then these pieces that I have in my hand right now, and I'm kind of auditioning them around the page, those are all from the October Stories by the Month kit from Ali Edwards. And I'm just having a look and familiarizing myself with what is in this kit, what the phrases are, what some of the shapes and designs are. And as you can see at this point, I do have a card for every pocket, either a card or a photo for every pocket. And I am going to take a look at the November kit because I do have it on hand, and because our Thanksgiving takes place in October here in Canada, I wanted to be able to dip into some of the Thanksgiving themed items in the November kit. So in that way, it's a little bit good that I'm a little bit behind, because if I had scrapped this in October, I wouldn't have had access to all of the Thanksgiving themed things that came in the other kit. So I did a couple of switches there just as I looked through the cards and found some that were really specific to Thanksgiving. Some of the other ones that are more about autumn or fall, I can save for the second half of October. So I'm going to consider this to be early October, and then I'll do a whole separate video about my late September. Did I say September? Late October. You know what I mean. We're dealing with October here, no matter what I just said. So on this card, this is just a picture of a smoothie that I made with our new Vitamix. And I just basically wanted to mark the fact that we got a Vitamix. It's an item that we've been wanting to get for a long time. My kids are big into making smoothies and have a lot of recipes to try and that sort of thing. But also a Vitamix is an important thing for me because my dad had a Vitamix when I was growing up. He must have bought it when it first came out because he's had it for a really, really long time. And although my sister got his Vitamix when he passed away, I've always kind of just wanted to have a Vitamix as just because it's important to me. So we got that. And as you can see with that card, that's no longer in frame, but all I did was write Vitamix on it because I kind of feel like I like my photos to do most of the storytelling and I don't have to spell every single thing out. So when you see that smoothie, you see the word Vitamix and you're going to think, oh, they must have gotten a Vitamix that year. Or when we're looking at it, we'll see that and say, oh, the reason she's talking about Vitamix is because that's the year we got one. So on this card that says, here's what I want to remember for October, I just wrote, with the US election looming and the pandemic raging in the US and building here in Canada, second wave, October 2020 was full of exhaustion with a mix of cautious optimism, Halloween, adjusting to school during a pandemic, hot tub arrival, and more. So I just slapped a couple of labels on that other photo of my backyard in the middle of a project that we're working on. And then it occurred to me that there are wood veneer in all of these kits. So I opened them up and put them in that little container so that they don't get lost. And I just layered those labels because I just love the look of a circular label underneath of one of those long, thin labels. So that's what I did. And those are really beautiful autumn colors, a dark green and then a light yellowy green as well. Now, what it says here is Mael's dad, Ryan, helped us get our patio stones. And I'm using my Lumocolor Stettler marker for that because it is a slick surface writer. And then I'm just going to pick out some wood veneer pieces here. I know that I'll probably use some of the wood veneer that came in these kits. So wood veneer is a good embellishment for this card because I'm pretty sure that wood veneer will show up elsewhere on this page. And I just spaced them out a little bit more than I normally would have. And I don't know if I like it, but it's fine. It looks good. So here I am trying to decide what to do with this. And I really struggled because I really like this headline because it tells you what it is. It says President Trump being flown to Walter Reed Medical Center after positive COVID-19 test. And rather than me writing that out, I really liked that this headline wrote that out. But I also didn't really want to fake this photo. Like I didn't want to make it look like be doctored or changed. And so I'm kind of struggling with how to use the photo that I want with the headline that I want and not have to write out a caption my own self, which would have been the other option, right? So what I went with was I ended up deciding to just cut the headline off of the other photo and layer it so that you could still see the original headline. I just felt like it was wrong to put an NBC headline on a CNN screen capture. So, but it is your own scrapbook, and particularly if you're not putting it on the internet, it's okay to do whatever works for you. So don't make that, keep you from doing whatever works for you. I just felt weird about it. So I just used my hot off the press template to draw some lines on this photo, which is it's a political cartoon by a famous local political cartoon guy. And I'm going to, this is not so much necessarily about about that sign in the photo, which says, "Welcome to Nova Scotia, where fewer COVID-19 cases than the White House." It's more just, so what I'm writing here is, so far so good, while much of Canada is entering their second wave. And then in brackets, I put the US is far into second W for wave. We only have a handful of cases. And that's really what I wanted to say there. So pulling on to the next photo here, another 4x6. And I have these chipboard pieces that I picked out. These are leftovers from the September kit. So I really want to get them used. I'm trying to use up stuff as much as I can. And I wanted to put my label and my embellishments up in this corner, although it kind of felt that like they belonged in the bottom right-hand corner. I just felt like having this space with the wall and the door up in that top left-hand corner, that needed to be covered more than the body of the cat needed to be covered. So these are some trays. They're IKEA trays that I keep in my 3-drawer Jetmax units. So in the drawer, I keep 4 of those, as well as a few other things. And I do show it in my scrap room tour video if you're interested in seeing how I keep those. But I really like being able to pull these out and just sort through them. And there's a third one. And I do have a fourth that you're not going to see because I keep less things that I didn't want to use today in it. But these are really great because I can pull them out, have a search through. I keep rubber pieces in one. I keep acrylic in another. And then as you can see, I keep like corkboard and flare in the other. So I didn't end up picking anything to go on that because none of them really worked. All of the ones that I wanted were too big. What I'm writing here is, these days, even a cough keeps you home for the day. I had like a normal cough. It wasn't a terrible cough, but it went with a really terrible headache. And I did have to get a COVID test, but obviously I was negative. But it's kind of like one of those things that if it wasn't for COVID, I probably would have just like gone to work anyways, which is not good. Like we shouldn't have been doing that ever anyways. And I hope that we go back to a world where we take better care of ourselves and don't feel compelled to push ourselves to work when we're sick. But anyhow, I just wanted to kind of capture that was a sick day. I do have my COVID test result, I think, that I might put in as an insert somewhere at some point as well. So now this fall piece is something that I saw when I took out those trays. It was just a little rubber piece that was floating around in my stash. And I thought that it worked really well on that photo of my backyard. So I put that there. And now, as you can see, I have moved on to the second page now. And this, what I'm writing on right now, I'm just writing throwback to 5 years ago, apple picking with Camilla and Sophia. This is one of those Facebook memories that I screenshot and printed up at 2x4 so that it fits really nicely in one of those 3x4 pockets. But here I'm actually putting it in a 4x6 pocket along with a 3x4 card. And then that card in the background that looks almost like stones, like a cobblestone print, is one of the cards from the kit. Every card that you see here is a card from the kit, except I'll tell you when I take some stuff from my stash. So this is my little vintage typewriter, which I really love. I just took a piece of scrap paper from a really inexpensive notepad that I have beside me, and I printed up apple picking on it. And now I'm just cutting it out and I'm going to glue it over going. So it says going apple picking. And with words that big, like since that font is so large, you can really play around with layering things on top and you can still read it. It doesn't take away from the readability of the title. I guess the technical word is legibility. But it works well in those kinds of cases. So whenever I have a big font like that, I like to play around with those sorts of things. What I'm writing here is, we may be the only place on earth where we can still travel and socialize with little fear of catching COVID, living life as fully as we can for as long as we can. And then in brackets, I put safely. So I'm just underlining all of the journaling that I'm doing today is with my Sharpie pen, which is my favorite journaling pen, except for when it's a slick surface, then I pull out my Lumocolor pen by Staedtler. And now I want to use one of these larger leaves. I just felt like that was kind of, that big hunk of white at the bottom there was looking kind of ugly. So I just put a wood veneer leaf from the October or November Stories by the Month kit. And I'm just looking to see if I have more of those photos. And I actually asked my husband to text me some of his photos because it seemed like, why do I only have a picture of Sophie and I? Like, it was the 4 of us plus my mom and stepdad came. It turns out we didn't take any pictures of the whole group of us and no pictures at all of my mom and stepdad. But I do have some more photos. So what I've decided to do after he texted me those is, or shared them with me or whatever you call it, I'm going to put an insert because there's more apple picking photos that are really nice and worth getting in the project. So I'm going to put those in. But first I'll just finish off with these main pages. So that picture of Jack Layton, I don't even know why I came across that, but I found the quote pretty inspiring. So I just printed it up to put it in my project life. And so here it is. And when I have a photo like that, that's so dark with lots of black on it, I like that to be on a lower part of a page. Now in this 4x6 photo, I'm just handwriting. How many takes did it take to get everyone in frame? Too many, says Liv. And Liv is kind of sad looking in that photo. So that caption not only explains that we were all taking pictures and trying to get a good shot, but also it explains why Liv looks so sad in the photo. She's just done. She doesn't like getting her picture taken even one time, but to force her to sit there and get it taken multiple times was probably not very pleasant for her. She did not complain, but nobody knew until afterwards how unhappy she looked. So on this card, I plan to do some journaling, but I also want to use that turkey sticker. It's just a chipboard oval, and in order to make sure that I left enough room for it, I just placed the turkey right over the template so that I was sure that I was leaving myself enough room to put the sticker in place after I was done my journaling. This one says, because 10 are allowed to gather inside without distancing, we hosted Scott's fam for turkey Thanksgiving dinner. And that's that card. And now this one is about the dinner that we had planned for my mom and stepdad, but they actually weren't able to make it. My mom is having some health problems. And so I had cooked it, but they didn't end up coming. So it says, the next day, Mom and Ray couldn't make it for round 2, ham. And so I put this sticker all around the table again because, the 4 of us sat at the dinner table and we ate a nice meal, although it was, we would have rather have the other 2 join us, but it is what it is. So now I'm just using, again, that hot off the press template. I love that one, to draw some lines in the water here. And I don't know what I was looking up there, but here I'm just writing, at long last, a toast to hot tubbing our way through the second wave. That is our plan. We are going to hot tub our way through whatever happens next. We were very happy to get it in and installed and working way before, like in that little narrow window of being able to go out and shop and get the supplies that you needed. And now we can go back to hunkering down in place. Now that these 2 pages are done, I'm ready to put them in their pockets and start working on the insert. But before I do put them in the pockets, I just want to put any last minute additions. So I pulled out my wood veneer that I keep in these little cases that all kind of stack together. And they're from Michael's, but I'm not sure if you can still get them there. But I think you can get them in a variety of different places. I thought that this camera was the perfect size. It's a wood veneer camera. It's not only the perfect size, but it also kind of fits with the journaling there. And then these 2 leaves, they're kind of big and difficult to work with. So I thought that these 2 big brown spaces on either side of that quote made a nice place to put some of those leaves to get those documented in my book. So here is that new page protector that I took out at the beginning for the second page of this project. And then, of course, I forgot to glue these ones down, but thankfully I remembered. And I am putting them in wet. Just be careful when you do something like that. Tombow Mono Multi sticks it gets tacky pretty quick, and those will stay in place pretty easily as long as you get them in the pocket, okay, without them smearing. So now that I have the second page in, I'm just going to flip to the back of my album and put the second page in. And normally I don't show you guys me putting the pockets, the cards in the pockets, but I thought I would just include this because sometimes people ask me, what do you do with your pages? And so I want people to know they actually go in my album. For a while there, I was stacking them up in a little pile with my 12 by 12s, but I try to get them in my album these days. Now, here's an idea that's not going to go, it's a fine idea, so you might want to try this out, although I decided not to try it out. So I cut this piece of vellum down to 6 by 12, and then I cut it into 3 4 by 6s, and now I'm going to cut it into 2 3 by 4s. And so see how that is 1/2. And I'm thinking this is going to be my insert. And my thought is that all of my inserts are on the inside of my album, like close to the rings. And that part of my album is actually getting kind of bulky. So I thought maybe I might want this insert to be over on the far side of this page protector. So instead of cutting down the page protector, my idea was to keep the page protector intact and then put something kind of see-through on this center part so that it looks kind of decorative. And then my insert ends up being on the outside instead of on the inside. So it would fit kind of like this is what I was thinking. And then those extra pictures that I have would go on the flip side of this insert. And then I don't know what I would put on the front side of it. But the more I thought about this, the more I actually didn't like that idea. Although you can see I'm just showing there that it's bulkier in the center than it is on the end. I like the idea, but once it came time to actually do it, I kind of changed my mind. Well, I didn't kind of. I actually changed my mind because it seemed cumbersome. It seemed like it was going to look like 2 separate layouts. I didn't know what to do on the other side of those photos because I only have 3 more photos to scrap and I've got like 6 pockets or 8 pockets, I guess. So what I ended up deciding to do was to do my standard, cut down the page protector into a half, and then I'll still use the vellum that I cut down. I'll just use it on the back side. And it's not, really vellum. The idea behind the vellum is that it's super, super thin, so it wouldn't have added to the bulk in the center part of my album. But to be honest, I'm almost done this album and I'm hoping to squeeze all the rest of the weeks into it. But if it ends up being overcrowded, it's overcrowded. It's all right. So because I have so few photos, I decided that I actually didn't need a full 6x12 insert. So I'm just cutting off the top pocket and I'm just going to put these photos like this on the back side of the insert. And then on the front side of the insert, you'll just see that pretty vellum. Uh-oh, look what's going to happen. That's not what I had in mind. So I'm just going to take that off and find myself a card that I don't like very much that has a white back, because that's a double-sided card and I wanted to use it, but I didn't want it to be orange on the back side where I am using vellum. So of course it looks more like pattern paper because it's not see-through anymore, but that's okay. I trimmed my photos a little bit too wide there, so I'm just going to put that in. That one was able to get in. And now here is my little insert. So that's how my pages look. So this spread was really fun to do. As you can see, here are the main pages all set out for you to see and a couple of close-ups. I haven't been doing as much stamping and kind of customizing of things for the past couple of spreads, and here's how it looks with the insert. I think I will get back to stamping. I just kind of want to feel more caught up before I slow down my process. So I hope that you found these past couple of pages helpful in terms of, just here's a way that you can scrapbook and do project life fairly quickly. This took me an hour and a half to do the 2 pages and the insert, including changing my mind a couple of times about things. So I hope that you found this helpful. Thanks for watching and have a really great scrappy week.